This is Shirley with Spirit of Matter. And we're actually not at a Soul Day, but that would be a Jupiter night and a Mars hour. I just hopped in. I felt like recording something, and then I saw the Ascendant and the Midheaven are on 9 degrees, which is related to the Moon. Moon has just traveled across my Ascendant and now is at 25 degrees Pisces, applying to Neptune. And this is ruled by Jupiter, which is in the 8th house, 13 degrees Taurus. And what do we have here? Well, we are after the new moon, so the moon is growing, but you see that there's a lot of completion themes around this moon. I talked about this. I'm not the only one who mentioned that. And yes, Venus, this is the ruler of the ascendant, is in the 5th house, 28 degrees Aquarius. Lord of the hour is the sun, is Mars. Venus is the ruler of the ascendant and the ruler of the night. No, Jupiter, the ruler of the night. The ruler of Jupiter. The moon is applying to Neptune. Did I just say that? Mars is 20 degrees Aquarius, and it is separating from a square to Uranus. So, where to even begin? Well, first of all, with this moon applying to conjunct Neptune, this ruling the midheaven. Moon, Neptune, and Moon, the number 9, first of all, is associated with the moon. And the number 9 is a number of completion. If we think about like going from year 1 to year 9, then 9 is kind of like where everything comes to completions, to be resolved, to be seen again. And you let go of a cycle and go to number 1 again. So this is associated with the moon and with the cycles of the moon. Moon applying to Neptune is, well, Neptune is dissolving of something. Moon is what you manifest with, okay? When you want to grow something, when you want to manifest, you say, oh, look at the new moon, then see the moon itself. And then, of course, you plant something with the new moon and then expect it to grow as the moon is growing and expect it to decrease as the moon is decreasing. The moon represents our emotions, where we are safe, what appeases us, when we feel nurtured. And Neptune is dream, but Neptune is also something missing, and it is also longing and loss. So, but the dissolution, and so dissolution of the moon. Okay, so the dissolution of the moon, and this is a transit that happens every month. Every month the moon goes through this. Now it's going through a new moon, and it's very interesting to have this aftermath of the moon in the sign of completion of things. So we are beginning to fall into completion. The world, the missing pieces are falling into place. And with Neptune, we need to surrender. And surrender, again, is not being defeated in a war. Okay? Surrender with Neptune is allowing to become the flow and allow things to be and still have a sense of direction while you're carried with the waves. So there are waves that you're carried, and the wave will lead you back to the shore. And there is a wave where you're leaving the shore. Neptune is just that confusion. Okay, moon there is yes, it's a little bit manifesting confusion, I have to admit. Yes, it is living in a movie, but also understanding that this movie is very real. And astrology is also associated with Neptune, the ability to sense something which is so far away, like Neptune, and to sense it in what we call energy, because for lack of a better word for it, um, and this thing has a wave of its own. And good astrologers, yes, they sense that. They have prominent Neptunes as well. It's not just time, Saturn, or Mercury, technique, or Uranus, the clairaudience, the eureka, the knowing, but it's also the moving with the flow and the experience that is beyond words. And both Pisces and Neptune are associated with that. So I have to share a moment with you. Yesterday, as I was recording, I think on a Friday, so it's not yesterday, it's the day before that. And I was recording something that had to do with like the mundane world. And I was paying attention to the April eclipse, and certain things came my way, and I was called to pay attention to them. And I recorded another short that says, "All eyes on Netherlands." I was thinking about the eclipse. And the Saturday, I went out of battery, was with my parents. The Saturday was the very difficult whole experience. It began with the moon Saturn, and it was kind of like a mini Sadasati, for those who saw my video about the Sadasati. And the Mars was exactly squaring Uranus. And that was not a pleasurable time to be alive. Very, very difficult. And so after the moon passed, there was a desire kind of like to let loose. Today I was logging again, like on Twitter, and two things occurred to me. One was David Icke complaining that he could not enter like Europe after he blamed COVID on the Jews. So all my love to David Icke, by the way. I'm not pro banning people or canceling people. Yes, but I also speak my mind, yeah? And so he was talking about Netherlands. And and so lo and behold, another thing that happened is that they tried to assassinate the person who was elected to be leading Netherlands, but eventually was not prime minister because he did not have enough electorate, and this is Geert Wilders. And I was like, what? What the fuck? Nothing happened to Wilders. Immediately, it sparked because Wilders was taken to the police in Amsterdam, of all places, yes. Not his fault. He was coming to some ceremony of actually opening the Holocaust place, but then he had to sign something, and somebody was threatening his life, and the police arrested them. And me being me, of course, I mentioned another case on July 6th, June 6th, July 6th, July 6th, 2021. If you know, you know. But yes, it was, it was what the fuck just happened? Because out of nowhere, I was called in to look at both Wilders' chart, and I tried to generalize this on Netherlands. And so Beatrix' chart is pinpointed by the eclipse. To be honest, I don't even remember how. And I know it's with Wilders, it's Jupiter. It's Jupiter 19 degrees Aries. The eclipse of 8 April is going to be with Sun, Moon, and Chiron on his Jupiter. So that was fascinating. And of course, it brought back, so I was watching some political debates from Netherlands regarding like this opinion and other opinions, and the cover of the topic. But this was where it's not like I use technique to pinpoint what is going to happen. I got energy, and I was called to look at this energy. And I said, all eyes on Netherlands, because something I saw, but I had no idea. And I know that, yes, the new moon leading to the first eclipse, the 25th leading to the April 8th eclipse. I had no idea it was going to be this, this quick, this important, and this kind of like, and this is like the way things happen in my gut response to this, and like everything that happened, everything that came up following that. And this is an experience, but also this is a moment that reminds me the very interesting experience of being an astrologer. And it is not about looking at graphs all day, and it is not about only swaying in the deep ocean where you don't have a navigation tool, because here you have. But there is something full to the experience. And first of all, I have to admit the shock. Okay, I did not expect that to happen. One day I look at Netherlands chart, I look at Geer's chart, all these things that come up. Is Geert right? Was the Vries right? How to combine the opinions, and then poof, somebody tried to assassinate the person. And yesterday, one thing that I was going had to do with Israel, actually, not with Geert or Netherlands, but actually I was born in Israel. My father is Dutch, but I was growing with my mother, and actually my Dutch culture I actually got through my mother, who's the Israeli person. And my Israeli ID is the most psychedelic trip ever. I'm Jungbloed, and my mother name is, I'm not going to say the Hebrew name, but the English is translated to Queen. The father, they misspelled the name, and in English it would be translated to hatred. Yes, it's not the name, of course, but to keep the privacy of the people, I don't see that. And my the nationality, because I'm Jungbloed, probably, I don't remember, it was very old ID, but it's not marked anything in the nationality. Okay, which was back then okay with me, as one of the mottos for like Dutch nationality is a citizen of the world, which I clearly relate to. And I'm a secular person, so yes. And for many years have been even atheistic. Now I practice Possibilianism, which is basically celebrating every good thing that there is from spirituality, while filtering out what's not right for me. So yesterday I was thinking, in my personal life for so long, and I didn't tell you the most trippy thing. I was born on the date that is in the Hebrew date is Hey in ER. I was born on May 6th, but the Hebrew date is Hey in ER, which basically means the date of the Declaration of Independence of Israel. And I have Sun conjuncting Rahu of the state of Israel. Okay. So that would, and in my personal life, I felt like the very existence, just to exist, is something I worked on for decades. It's not something I know how to explain to you. And I don't want to speak trauma language, I want to speak experience. And because there is also beauty in life, and this is my life experience, okay? And so I felt like for so long I've worked on existing. Just when I exist, I feel like they say that the country that I live in, basically that I have no right to exist. So this this was just satirical moment, and I was like, what? Like, what the fuck? And that was my Saturday. And to think that I was just looking at the chart of a person that somebody would try to assassinate them pretty much the day after, or the couple of days after, then I went through this experience of people feel like I don't have the right to exist, which is the experience of the country, but it's kind of like until I exist, you know. And then I woke up to this, and I was like, this is such a psychedelic trip. And in a way, those experiences connected me with having a home, existence, roots, motherland, fatherland in a very weird way. And it's kind of like the Schrodinger's cat. And by the way, I saw a post on the Schrodinger's cat today. So this is also of how the person and the vocation and the astrology blend in, because this job, yes, and you have to show up until you surrender things, until you find out where it leads. So obviously I'm showing up quite consistently, to my surprise. It just happens. And I love that it just happens. And the world is fiscally crazy. So I'm just becoming prepared. And then, an opportunity arises, which is very much kind of like the fish, where you think about not just the fish, but the flow state and the waiting state and the present state and the showing up state for opportunity to travel towards you. And by the way, if you wonder like about the assassination thingy, so yes, I did touch on that. Mr. Wilders has Saturn in 20 degrees Aquarius, retrograde, I think, and the Mars was applying, yesterday was applying to conjunct it. Now it's right on, and while it was squaring Uranus. So it was a very explosive, very rebellious Mars square Uranus. Mars rules guns. It rules such a reactionary kind of attack. And coming to Saturn, which rules tradition, but it's also ruling death. I don't know if it's day chart or night chart, but it's basically that Saturn was meeting Mars from a reactionary point, but this Mars was also stopped, okay, on time. And so all this happening while Saturn is was going from the 10th to the 11th house, 11th degree of Pisces, and 11th degree is also to do with life termination, yes. So that sparked, that jumped the gun, very likely, and ending with the person being stopped. So yes, and yes, the moon was traveling across Saturn yesterday, but he said it happened yesterday evening. So I don't know if it was around moon Saturn, and that would be the ruler of Mars and the ruler and the transiting ruler of Aquarius, okay, meeting there. So I don't know, yes, and I don't know the ascendant of the chart. So and it's also next to this was the moon. So the moon in Aquarius was also met and is being met by this Mars. So a lot of conversation, a lot of backlash, a lot of protests and so on, and reactionary and life-threatening response. So and my place as an observer is just those are moments where your work or the place where you show up and you keep doing you and express yourself and I want to also share with you because I have a lot of consideration in the freedom of speech as a value, and those consideration top a lot of marketing considerations, a lot of SEO, a lot of going viral considerations. Although the moon is next to my ascendant on Neptune, I have to surrender what will happen with this video. And basically a lot of things for the sake of being able to speak, to share, to experience, to touch on the core of humanity with this strings of my soul in through the tool of attuning to reality and to the charts and being creative. This means that all is dedicated to this. And there's a lot of surrender because me going viral, I'm not stupid, okay? Nor am I unintelligent. I understand that I get to say things that others wouldn't. And I get to call people to speak up about the things that others wouldn't call people to speak up. And I stress a great value on doing so. And knowing that when you record something, when something is on air, it has a life of its own. And I'm a writer since a very young age, and I'm coming from a family of people of the picture and the word. So again, I'm not uninformed or unintelligent, nor am I untalented. There are considerations to this where it is, it's not even fame, viral, being viral, widespread, well known, is very interesting because you both have to surrender your reputation, your image, the way people look at you, whether will they see you, will they not see you, what the image they have of you. And I have midheaven conjuncting Neptune out of sign conjunction. So there's a lot, but it doesn't mean that I don't, that I'm not susceptible to observing image and absorbing image, and sometimes not seeing everything and so on. It's just a part of life. We project, we're humans. We have partial information, and things get to us in the way that they do. And so on the one hand, you cannot control the image, but there is also, stepping up with our best foot forward in the sense of bringing in the authentic self to expression. And it's both that sense of allowing, flowing, being, and bringing in the authentic self to the forefront. Have no control of how we will be perceived. And even the best of image provocateur and image controlling people, personas, they don't have full control of how they're being seen. They have full control maybe of what they decided to expose. If they close themselves and completely isolate themselves, but no control of what how people will perceive them. None of us have. And yet, when you touch on things, when you are uncompromisingly yourself, then and yourself touches on things that are uncompromising, political, social, personal, then this is a journey, and it's not new to me, and I'm not first generation to this journey. And so doing a business like this, in very weird way, it's like business like this, is really is a lot of dedication that comes with something that flows, and in a way it is being with myself and how I feel, my frustrations, my losses, my longings. You know, Neptune is amazing for that. And the wealth that does come with it, of experience, of joy, of sudden unexpected goods, which is also, it's also this conjunction. And also being at the part of the fabric of time, of these moments in time, being a part of time is also the way it feels. You're in touch with the fabric of times, with the fabrics of experiences, in a way that the motion picture cannot offer. Because I've been filmmaker, I've been writing films and been doing films, not in like too industrial way. But when you write a film, you have your vision, then you write, which is of course very difficult to put in words. Then you make drawings, which modernly, like in modern filmmaking, people don't do. They have a billion writers and a billion people go for every stage. And then you come to the set and it's completely different. You have to adapt. And there's surrender and loss and hidden wealth at every stage. So it's very Neptunian art. Here there is something where you are in a movie and this movie is reality. And astrology has this magnet of reality to it. You know, I'm an eclipse child, but not a tight eclipse child. It's basically, I was born 11 days, I think around 11 days before an eclipse. And this is in the shade of eclipses, still count as eclipse child. And so, except for astrologers, I don't know other people around me that are eclipse children. And my parents, at least as far as I know, are not eclipse children. No, my parents are not eclipse children. people around me that I know their charts, I know the eclipse children. Um, but astrologically, then you meet people who are eclipse children, of course. Not everyone, but it's one of the things. And then it doesn't mean that your chart is not fated. There are many significations for fate. Eclipse, shade of eclipse means that eclipses are bringing more fate into your life, but it means that this is in a particular way that is surrounding eclipses. And we are in the shade of 2 eclipses. So that is, yes, that is just an interesting notion. If I think about the role of astrology in my life, I think um, it has been creeping up on me in the sense that I have always, treated it like, the luck cookies that you read, the horoscopes. That I'd like to read it and I like to treat it, and I would forget right after. And then something happened in my life actually to do with relational dynamic, and I was exposed to kind of like more. Before that, when I was a teenager, I saw an ephemeris. It looked like Chinese. I could study Chinese maybe, but this looked like something to do with computation. And without people like, Peter here, I would not be doing astrology. I have dyscalculia, okay? I know I can tell you the theory, I can correct your equation by the theory, but if I have to develop an equation, it's not my talent or my skill. Um, and so, and then I learned about like my chart, and then this time I was watching like Lada's videos, and I said, oh, I want to study it orderly, but I don't have the money. And then I saw the videos by Astrology Podcast, like many. And then I decided to challenge myself and to post my own stuff. So I began to watch less and do more. And it just set me, at the beginning, I was doing just interviews with people, and it was just on my learning journey. It was a lovely experience. And then something happened, and I was unappointable. Uranus in my 3rd house. And I began to dedicate myself to this. It was never, it just happened. And I love that. I love that about this. I made some money with astrology. Yes, right now it's kind of like, oh, the world is fiscally crazy. I don't know, it will be. And Neptune requires a lot of surrender. Okay, it's going on my ascendant and it's conjuncting my midheaven in general. And I did always want like a vocation that is so much more than just a vocation. And I feel I have this experience here, and a lot of freedom, which is important. And I'd also speak up for this freedom, because I think that we can all, I'm Me Too veteran. And yes, at the time there was many people that I was not taking part in conversation with, because I needed to learn to mitigate my own Mercury. I have Mercury opposition Pluto, impulsive, deep, inquisitive, and drawn to the depth of the deep of the deep. This was once I was called, you have a greedy mind, by someone, and I said, this is a compliment. Yes. But I soon learned that to save myself and to be sane, I sometimes have to limit my confrontational endeavors, because the desire to allow for discourse and the freedom of speech is not possible when you don't let yourself also to be taking your own time, to your own space, and not participating in discourse all the time. So, and then you can become more accepting and less confrontational, or confrontational in the right way. So it's always something a bit obsessive with Pluto, but it can be cultivated. And at the time of the Me Too, I learned that it is okay to not answer, to be overflown, to have this what they call emotional flashbacks or triggers, and it is okay. What's needed to be is a freedom for us to speak and express ourselves. And what's needed to be is that we can do both the taking a step back and the participation in a healthy discourse. And so I feel like a lot of alternatives around this freedom of speech are forming at this time. Mercury is sextile in Pluto, exactly sextile in Pluto from Aries, so this is innovation. Freedom of expression is absolutely celebrated. And yes, again, freedom of expression is not a call to genocide. I'm talking about true freedom of expression. And so if you cannot speak in one platform, you will speak in another. If you cannot communicate in one way, then you might find another way. And also the autonomy of the speaker, of the individual, is where Mercury is heading. Mercury is heading to meet Rahu, and Rahu with Chiron in Aries, so talk about sovereignty. And I talked about it last week, the Mars in Aquarius, the individual within the society, the individual within humanity. Okay, humanity is made of individuals, and it should grant the freedom, individual freedom, yes, for all the individuals. So one freedom, one individual freedom, does not have to call to the killing of another, because this is not practicing your freedom. And this is also true on the material plane, it's also true on the spiritual plane, it's also true in every way. Probably the ruler of the hour, no, still, yes, still. So, yes, thanks to my viewers. I am still processing what happened this weekend, okay? Both on the outside and on the inside, and I did not expect things to be this early. I did not expect me to put a short out there right before I ran out of battery, and I don't even know if the short was like, if you see, I think it was, I'm not sure. If you've even seen it, I remember recording it, sending out, I don't even know if it was uploaded fully. And yeah, and then, going offline for a very, very intense Saturday, a Sadasati Saturday. That's how I call it. It was a Sadasati Saturday, and when the moon was conjunct in an 11th degree Saturn, it was not a pleasure for me. And then waking up to these news. Fortunately, nothing happened. But I can say for my life, I had a nothing happened in my life where I was trying. A couple of nothing happened in my life that were life risking, and I can say from my own experience, me, Shirley, as the nothing happenness of it, when somebody tries to unalive you, a desire to unalive you, is intense. It is I can speak from my experience. It is traumatic. Um, so this is where um, I guess I'm still processing what happened. Okay. Yes, Rao is with Chiron. Um, I was, yes, I was 12 when they assassinated the prime minister in Israel. Yitzhak Rabin affected me very deeply. Um, and so it affected me in a way that I would never, politically, I never called to the demolishing of a person or a politician, because I remember, okay, and I always said, you know, opposition should offer an alternative. Of course, right now we're not even talking in discourse of the nation state and of governments. We're talking on certain globalized effects. Some see it as fundamentalist. Some see it as other type of fundamentalism regarding speech, regarding the atrocities towards actual medical profession and professionals, and I speak up, okay? Um, and, and many things. So I'm aware that the political discussion is even somewhat redundant when it comes to resources and wealth, and this is something we all live with. It's something that when I was filmmaker, then we knew, okay, you have to bridge between the art and the funding. But when it comes to the medical field, or when it comes to the political field, it catches, it catches the soul, it catches the eye, it captivates the mind in a way that is a bit different. And so there's this fabric of decision making and living and points of interferences that are also combining. So yesterday they tried to assassinate a political figure in my other motherland, fatherland, and I was the person that said, "Hey, all eyes on Netherlands." Then went to sleep and woke up to this. And again, I can only talk about like my experience, which is a very personal, a very biased. This meets me with Moon and Mercury, with Moon and Moon and Mercury. Began with Mercury and Neptune, and then delved into whatever was Saturday. and then Moon and Neptune on my ascendant, so you can understand that I'm talking about an experience here. I'm not attempting to portray like a universal truth or any way. It's just a very personal experience, and I'm allowed to. This is my channel. This is my life. and this is my experiences. So um, there are things that I don't know how to explain. It's a conglomerate of intuitions. I don't have an explanation for. Okay, because this is not astrology. In the technical thing, it is not politics in the technical way either. Is yes, it is not pure channeling either. Yes, I have a calling. I look at charts. Something happens. I don't know. Is art in Israel, and this is home in many ways. You know, this is happening in the two countries that are most associated with my roots. It's not the only countries, but definitely the most two direct ones where I was exposed to their culture the most. Actually, yesterday before I woke up to this news, I was thinking to share with you about my language, because I'm not a native English speaker by anything other than immersion. Okay, English was spoken in my house, but I was born to a mother that spoke Hebrew. My father is Dutch, also spoke Hebrew, and so on. So I studied English because of pragmatism. I'm a person of the word. I knew this from very young age, and I knew that, I would need to make a living, which would necessitate a market, which would have to be big enough to make a living from. And I had no problem immersing myself in a language. English was the most prevalent back then, and then I would like languages in general. So I would have no problem to blend into the accent and so on. When I would speak Arabic, they would laugh at me. I would read a text. Now, I just came from Europe. I was reading a text in class in Arabic. I don't know to read Arabic now. And all the students were laughing at me and making fun of me because I sounded like an Arab, and I had no idea what was I reading. Same with Russian. I learned the Kirill letters, but yes, it wouldn't be the same. But when I had to speak Dutch, and my life was pretty much dependent on it, I was in between houses and shelter in COVID, and there is a thing that I learned. I learned actually 2 semesters of Dutch when I was back in Israel. I said, I learned so many languages. Why not make sure that I know Dutch good enough? And I had a Frisian teacher, and apparently it's a thing by Israelis. When we try to speak Dutch, we sound German. So when I was in Netherlands, I was afraid to even try because I would sound German. And German would come to mind. So it is so satirical. I'm third generation to the word. So yes, of course, to me, German is Hans Wedder and Konstantin Wecker and Reinhard May, and this is German to me. So it's the reason why I know German, but it's also very funny. And so the language that my life depended on, I couldn't speak good enough just in the country that really appreciates like Doesn't matter where you come from. If you speak Dutch, then you're one of us. And I could not do that. So I was thinking to share this funny story. As you can see, the news a bit overwhelmed the joke while I was there. And, definitely, yes. First of all, Israel became on the news, but we're kind of used to being on the news too much and not always for the right reasons. And so, and then Netherlands, of all countries, of all countries. So, the story of Vluchtelingen, probably I sounded German again, is very familiar to me, okay, of refugees, because I was exposed to that, okay, during COVID. And there was a person, Moroccan, old woman, Moroccan, Christian, next to me. And I think I told the story of when she took me to a church and I had to shut my mouth because I would sound either too American. But I definitely cannot speak well enough Dutch. And I definitely don't want to say I'm from Israel there. But there was a Berber community. So the imam opens the doorway of the church and they have like a talk, and then they have some food, which is the raison d'être for why she took me there. So it was good food, probably. I don't even remember. I was so stressed. And some coat. There was another coat and a hat that they gave me. And so she did not get help to get housing. She was older woman and she was sick and she was harassed. And if not for the winter shelters of COVID, she would be like in the street, and where she would be in the summer. And so the Berber community, they all had houses. They were not homeless. They had public housing. And so I ran into this. Okay, this was my roommate. We were snoring at each other's nose, at each other's ears. Okay, it was that close. And I also ran into the very thing that actually killed the Vries eventually. Not the only thing, but the police is giving you a lot of ultimatums. And it's not just in Netherlands, also Israel. It's literally told by police, the help that we can offer you don't want. Okay? I was literally told this. The help that we can offer you don't want. So you get an ultimatum. You get so much security that you don't have any freedom. As jail. Or you get zero security, and so the street. This is how Peter the Vries died. And so I saw this too. The shelter is 40 minutes walk, well, it's 40 minutes drive. You can understand the difference. And this is what I went through with a Dutch passport. And yes, of course, you dare to speak that you ran away from like trafficking, attempts to put you into trafficking. So I saw the Moroccans that are not helping anybody who is not Berber. So I know exactly what Wilders is talking about. And I saw what the police is doing. They don't have security for red light district, so they want to put the sex trafficking tower ghetto horror in Netherlands. So I saw what de Vries was talking about, prior to his death. And this is, it was all coming up. So what was I doing there? I was escaping violence, and there was no solution in Israel. It's safe. And so I said, I'll try my luck. It's another passport there. And of course, there is more to that. And yes, I believe that what will be revealed in the time where it is ready to be revealed and received. So this is one heck of a weekend. It's one heck of a weekend to me. And by the way, I'm during my Pluto square. And this was just as I embarked to this is a fourth house perfection with the month that is 2 months before my birthday. So it would be a second house for me, which is Aries. And the minute we got to the second house, all the abroadness came up, because when I was in the second house perfection is when I went Netherlands and back into my third house, and now I'm at my fourth house with the Mercury in the second natally. So I have Mercury in Aries natally, and then the memories from the second house perfection of where I when I traveled, and when Mars the ruler is in the ninth house. So yes, when I saw Netherlands in that way, it was all and the crescendo of events that just happened this weekend. One day I'm like getting an energy, looking at this energy, looking at this chart as Mr. Withers. I don't even remember the how and why and what happened. The other day I'm like, there's more to this than I expected. And the other day somebody tries to kill him. and everything comes up from when I was in Netherlands. So those of you who are feeling energy, you know what you know more than me, than I can say. How powerful is this? And this is where the dream, the reality, the energy, the Schrodinger's cat. I think I felt like a bit of a Schrodinger's cat. I was not the only one who feeling like this weekend. So that touch on the fabric of reality is just something I have to, I guess, process and talk about and share. And this, astrology is good. I had to. I never thought I would have such an astrology is good. But it's also this. And this reminds me trying to find the correct words for me to say, well, when you are dealing with life and death issues and you are tending to a point of interference, I will talk about my experience, okay? Tend to a point of interference where you could change lives, and by raising awareness, by contributing to the discourse, by any activity that is at the juncture of where lives are changing. And there is also an element of entertainment to this, whether it's astrology or writing or journalism or politics. Then yes, many politicians are war actors have studied acting, public speaking. It's a part of what you learn. And I can say, from my experience, when you do Model UN, it's not just, you're learning how to express yourself. You're learning how to stand in front of camera, learning, by the way, to not be stressed in front of crowd. I like to share, this is actually a tip I got at the debate. You clench your butthole. And then you clench your butthole and you release. And it helps you when you get like the crowd anxiety. So if passing it's on. Memories. So the thing is that when there's entertainment involved with the points where lives are touched, then there is so many things coming to this. Okay, do you want to get famous? I'm a Me Too veteran, and I wrote, my way of coping with this was to write a satire. I wrote it to heal myself, and then just the question like, oh, you're trying to gain fame on your case. I was like, I'm trying to be, I'm trying to heal, I'm trying to express, I'm trying to find a way to deal with that. It's not stepping on anybody's toes, but not on mine either. I'm trying to be, basically. So, and when it is, let's say, if I talk about, let's say, Flying Bombardier, which I wrote under fire. So if I ever publish this, other than where it was published, yes, of course I want money. Yes, of course I want wealth. Yes, of course I want to be appreciated for who I am. Yes, of course I want to enjoy life, to live life. My vocation touches those things. And this is also coming to the forefront. Okay, it's a juncture of a meaningful life, a meaningful career, and a meaningful way of making a living, which is something that I was looking for. At the beginning is where you're confronted with, when you go to work, that's my experience, yes, it's not for everybody, talk about another video. When you go to the work, you get sick. Then you go to rehabilitation. Yes, why don't you work? I'm looking for a meaningful, viable income in a way that expresses me, that is good for me. And then I express myself. Well, I will share this. My mama told, write a book. I wrote Flying Bombardier. I didn't show what I wrote because I do care about my freedom of speech. And she's got a clue of what I'm writing about. And again, I'm not the first generation to do this in our family. She was doing this too. And she was like, no, don't write. Then don't write. Then don't write. So this is a part of my life. Okay? And it's lovely because this moon is manifesting the blending of so many things together, more so than I imagined. And the more I talk about it, the more I understand what just happened this weekend. What just happened this weekend? Live. I was not of the people who predicted the 7th of October. I did, never mind. Yes, but no, definitely not astrologically. No, I did not know it's going to happen then. I was actually looking at the April eclipse. So, yes. Yes, the laughter that comes at this, at the life. But such a thing did not happen to me yet. And this is, this started with the ascendant in the midheaven on a completion phase. Libra is my 8th house, natally Cancer is my 5th, but the moon is on my ascendant. And I'm heading towards a lunar perfected year, is this May. So lunar perfected year with Ra in my 2nd, the moon I have in Cancer, so even the smells. I have there are all kinds of clairs, and there are clairs to do with the smells, and something felt like a smell was coming from somewhere. It's very fascinating. So I just by the way, yes, the ruler Jupiter is like in the 8th house, but with Venus in the 5th house. Okay. Saturn in the 6th. See all these 6th house placements that I'm talking about. And in a work, in the hidden facets of work and the entertainment, which is 5th house. And the 10th house, which is image, how you are seen. Eyes were very... This weekend, I've really felt the importance of eyes, the luminaries of vision. I was even looking at a horoscope, and I saw like it was a synastry, and I saw like the eyes, the planets, and there was something special about the way I was saying them. I'm paying attention to eyes more so than ever. And so the visibility, the eyes came to the forefront. And it was a new moon, so sun and moon, they rule the eyes. But it was something more, and we are heading towards an eclipse. Eclipses change the way we see the world. It was just fascinating. Just kind of like to stare at the picture of the spheres was like to look in their eyes. And I was looking at the eyes of people. Kind of feel like I'm dissolving into their eyes. Beautiful experience. Yes, of course, like Mercury was the hands. They were also involved. Astrology is just so interesting. Two things I never thought I would do in my life. Okay, when Yitzhak Rabin died, I said, I'll never do politics. I never have a touch on politics. I don't care about politics from this day on. Lost it. And then I would eventually study politics and governance, because it felt like, it's the closest I can do to travel and maybe international relationships. There was one course on international relationships, and I did some other UN, but it was a fascinating degree, 2 degrees almost. And the next thing I never thought that I would do was astrology. I never thought that I would do this. Like, who would have known? It was a thought experiment that went wild. And actually, there is a third thing, because before I was leaving, my own journey during COVID, then a very good friend said, if you do one thing, promise me you don't do astrological magic. And I was like, me? These so many details put together? Never. It's too much for me. Yes, and then we began to look at a little bit of like, it was a sphere and sundry. It's kind of like, what is this energy we're standing? And I was like, it's nice. But then I was called to actually do it. And the first talisman that I remember doing, I thought I was doing an essential oil blend. And then it was like, look at the chart. I was channeling. And it was an talisman. So it's kind of like that's what you feared. Okay, now you did the most scary thing that you can do. Go ahead, do that too. I'm learning a little bit, and whenever the time comes, then things come to be, and things happen, and I love it when things happen and there's a state of flow in things. But if you would tell me that I would do mundane astrology, I would laugh and associate it with turn into magic. I would laugh. And then this is also beyond my every dream in a way. It's beyond my every dream in a way, these experiences. So yes, what was I looking before this weekend happened? Declarations of Independence, the people in charts of nations, political figures. This actually podcast started as Spirit of Matter, and then other than interviews, I said, oh, it would be great if I just take a person, read about them, not know anything about them, or at first I took like my favorite scientists and thinkers and say, oh, let's see what their chart was. And because they were scientists, it was very exciting. Yeah. Like, oh, let's see if I can delete the astrology. I could, partially. sometimes not, but I definitely got the houses. And then I expanded like to other types of vocations, and I saw that there is a telos to it. There's a music to it, where every time it would be, sometimes martial artists, and then spies and hackers, whistleblowers, and at every chart like this, it takes you to the soul of something, and it's a connection. Is the closest to like is even more than like an interview. You ask a person questions and it's all very official. I did it in high school. You ask a person questions. What do you want to be asked? What this? What that? And there's always this person in that pushes this question. Now ask this question. Now ask this question. Like in high school, I literally remember there was Spurg. Actually, I have a book next to me. I had honor to interview him, and then nudging me to ask some stupid question, and I just literally looked at the eye of that teacher. I was like, I'm not going to ask this stupid question. But this I could do in high school in a panel. You can understand I could not do it in any of the journalists, the journalism platforms and the news platforms and the interviews platforms. But yes, I had the honor to be able to make that decision myself. And here with just a lot of freedom of expression. And then, there's always like, oh, should I talk about this? Should I do the chart of this person? Should I this? Should I that? And it's somewhere between effort to being, sensitive to the topic, and the fact that something happens to me when I look at the chart, and that something happens. There's a flow of its own. It's a creation, and but I do find that this type of work, it definitely centers me, and the knowledge comes to me. The things that I need to know come to me. And the energies, the experiences, and they are exciting. They are exciting. So those are a very interesting form of interactions. Anyway, hope you are enjoying this video. Oh, now I see that the messages, like the ability to write, is not. I didn't give you the ability to express yourself now. Yes, technically. So, yes, but if you are polite in the comments and kind, then is welcomed. I wanted to do a video like, like expressing my own experience, and this is, I think, the third year that I'm doing Spirit of Matter. And it has taken life forms. It's the third season. It's not really a season because I do it every day. Funny enough. And I wanted to kind of like look back and think about things that happened, and then happened this weekend, and everything came to the forefront. The culmination point. And so, yes, this is totally a sign of completion. And completion does not mean that there will not be continuation. It means that there is some closure on certain things that like a synodic cycle. The moon is closing a synodic cycle, a monthly synodic cycle with Neptune, and things are coming to closure while other things are beginning. So the point of closure is the point of beginning. And so, oh yeah. By the way, amongst this, before this weekend, I think I felt quite lonely. I think I managed to hit the spot on Twitter so much so that I was that shadow banned. And I was like, gee, like really I'm not showing even in my followers pages. Like I really am shadow banned. Not like when you hear people that I'm shadow banned and they have like 1 million subscribers. I'm shadow banned. They don't let me. It's like, yes, they are shadow banned. Yes, I'm not. It's not like it came out wrong, but it's also right. It's like, this is shadow banned, guys. This is shadow banned. Yes. And so I have no idea what I did. I probably did right, yes, but I have no idea what I did. And so it kind of felt like both a frustrating success because it's success because it means I did not compromise me, and it is frustrating because I'm also a social person. So, and so what happens with this is basically there's lack of one type of connection. But I wouldn't imagine what other types of connections are formed. With Pluto in Capricorn, I went through the experiences of community. I'm in prominent communities, making money out of communities, and in terms to build community. I'm not an Aquarian. I appreciate Aquarians. I love Aquarians. I'm Pisces. So I just blend into and enjoy the times. So now there's prominent places in my 12th house. There's different type of seclusion and connection. And there are different types of like experiences. But at the same time, when Twitter was like black screen, I was recording my video on extremism and asylum seekers. Um, and what I saw was suddenly I had more views than I usually get live, and they were watching for longer time. That's what's happening right now. And I was like, oh, these adjacent experiences of like complete and total observer that is not being observed, there's something to it, you know. It's, to not be seen is not just frustration. There's also, you know, so a lot of people want to see and not be seen in different contexts. So this experience where you're seen, if I comment, then yeah, depending on the person, they may see it, may comment, and so on, but they will not see me. What I say, where I go, unless they are, you know, putting some effort in going in seeing me. So it's a very interesting position to be. It's not necessarily the reason you would go on social media. Okay, there's no reason why I went on social media. But it just happened. I was just trying things and so on. And of course, I could try to like open another account and to play with the election. Right now, I don't dedicate time to that. There would be better platforms. It's just so there would be better platforms that allow for more freedom of speech, that are countering WHO WEF 2030. And so, and I know this, you know, when there is a calling, when there are voices that desire something, solutions come to be. And immediately I remember Lada Tunchev when she said about Aquarius, you know, there would be a lot of alternatives to everything. You don't have to be afraid for your freedom to be taken away from you so much. You do have to manifest this. I want that. I want that. I want that. And Aquarius can give you that. And so, and so you surrender a bit of the way that things happen, because like, you might not get it from this point of view, or get it from there. Kind of like if we are, you know, the moon is relational. So Moon Neptune can be longing for the love that is not there, longing for the person that is not there, for the missing, for the eternity. And so, but within this place, you find out what you want. And then when you find out what you want, it's very much, it's almost like that cliche Abraham Hicks thing. Is your desire is within you, it's just incarnating. And then, you know, you accept this loss, and somewhere along the way, in a way that you didn't expect, then something falls. So I was thinking about many things, you know, whether it's work, whether it's conversations, things I had to say, things that I was afraid to say. And the way things turn out, and then, you know, that's the spot, the 12th house of Neptune, that hidden wealth. You're like, oh, there's loss, there's longing, there's something you even feel like despair sometimes, and you accept it, and they're like, whoa, something else is coming. That you're, oh my God, I wasn't expecting this. So yeah, I wasn't expecting that this would be the episode that I would do of like reflecting on what has it been like to do Spirit of Matter. I haven't been available for interviews, and that was very impactful, but the freedom of speech was prioritized. And I want to talk a little bit about the time where I wrote Sugar Free Lemonade. And disclaimer, today, I guess, because today, you know, I don't mention, when I mention Sugar Free Lemonade, I don't mention it to bash anyone or to, you know, kind of like, it's not that. It's more like it was an episode in my life. It was a big chapter in my life. Ra was in my seventh house, and I had to find my own existence through this experience. And I was exposing me most of all. That's how I felt. It was exposing me most of all. It was about my healing. It was tied into something that happened in my life. And so prior to Sugar Free Lemonade, before the booming, before the Me Too, there were a lot of writing. So the threshold was crossed, and I was speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking and speaking. And I clearly remember that the time where I said, just tell me in how many years am I ahead of my time? So, and then, a couple of like weeks, I think even later, it was the Me Too. Boom. First, when you were risking your life when you would speak about these things back then. Okay, it was like, if I don't speak, I will be ill lethally. When I do speak, the problem, another problem, and so that before things go viral, that before it explodes, that before the booming effect, there is a showing up to you, this public, and it's true to every public success. You are showing up every day and you are speaking to whomever is there. And if there is one person there, if there's two people there, if there's 100 people there, if there are no people there, then you are just practicing. And this showing up accumulates to something. And sometimes it accumulates to energies that you are receiving, and to encounters, and to conversations, and to wealth. It's important to not live in the street. Yes, it's important to have housing. It's important to eat good food. Yes, I'm not talking about yes, if you, I don't know, have a super yacht, if you manage to do that without being a part of a Peter ring, yeah, I land in here. How? but it's like when I talk about wealth, it's not just like the money, the this, the that. Wealth is the wealth of experience, to feel connection, that something is meaningful, and it is those things that are coming after accumulation of a lot of showing up daily to something that people don't even, I was even on astrology. I was watching the astrology podcast, and they were recording for a couple of years before they were booming. I think 2015 or 14, I don't know. And they were just like, there were 3 people there. They were recording, and nobody cared. There's this song in German that says, wir schreiben ein schönes Lied und keiner kennst. Okay, we write beautiful songs and nobody knows. And so, das ist die gescheiterte Existenz. And then, one day it goes viral. So, it has happened to me, in 2008, a movie that I co-wrote with a director. It was a student movie, one of the first student film, LA Film Festival. I was calling myself Sister Spooky back then. I don't know if I repent this or thankful to this. I don't know. It's kind of like, yes, I'm proud of this movie, yes, but it keeps you invisible in a way. And it was a big success, not a material one. It happened to me at a deep crisis in my life, but prior to this, there was it was a decade of writing screenplays to the moon. And I kind of feel like I'm in such moment right now. I don't even know why or how. Or in what way, what does it mean? But this is the topic that shows up for me. Is this showing up, showing up, showing up, showing up? And I remember when I was listening to the podcast when, Chris Brennan and Austin and Kelly back then was saying that, and I was like, I don't I don't know, where do I find in me the place. And now I'm like, we're 3 years after Spirit of Matter being 3 years on air, just showing up. Ich schreibe ein schönes Lied und keiner kennst. And I'm doing, like, I haven't even noticed that I'm doing this, showing up. And this is, if I take it back, the sugar-free lemonade, just like the more recent. I wasn't showing up to blame anybody, nor was I showing up to demote anybody. I was showing up to be, to me. I was showing up to me. And I felt the need to do that publicly for a reason. And then the Me Too came out. And so by the way, same with Flying Bombardier. I was writing and it was like every freaking writing felt like you touched on some. I don't even. And there was a lot of the feeling that was during Sugar Free Life. It's like, you're not gonna do it. You're not gonna do it. I did it. Bye bye. You're gonna say that. You're gonna say that. You're gonna say that. What did I just? So, and Spirit of Matter is like this a bit, and so this is the showing up. And I actually, I don't understand, why am I being called to talk about this? What is going to happen? I don't know. But I want to tell you, because whatever you are doing in your life, if you are, I don't know how are you meeting this, or what stage in your life you're meeting this, but I want to discourage you to show up in your life, to what really, set intention to align with your desire, what you want, with what makes you feel good, with what brings meaning to you, and show up to this in your life. And consistently, with me, it was a lot about, like, it is a lot about surrendering the thing, and then something comes out, I don't even know, like, like I'm showing up. That's all I know. And I'm also showing you, if you look at my videos, there are probably hundreds of them by now. And you understand this is like a plant growing and growing and growing, and nobody sees. And then there's a bulb of something. It's begin to bloom. So in filmmaking, when I was young, I was learning filmmaking, and that out of the so many movies that are there written, so what's produced and so on, and so there are a lot of times in this process where you feel like, who am I talking to? Till you hear a voice answers back, and you're shown things, and you're getting things, and you get to talk about things, and you deliver things, and you find yourself at this point. So I want to actually encourage you to be, I'm recovering from CPTSD, and a part of where we get dissociated, trauma is overwhelming. And recently, like, 7th of October, but who am I? I'm living in Israel, right? So, and so a part of how we deal and how we recover is to show up and be with us more. And this is a part of it, the testimonial that I'm with me. So, um, when it comes to like career or life mission, it's more like life mission, then it really is that place. You grow with this, you grow with love, and you show up to yourself. If your life meaning is career or public life or activism or whatnot, then you show up to yourself publicly. And um, I feel like if you're watching this, then I hope you are encouraged, and I hope that you're seeing the process of things growing is because even on YouTube, even if you are a YouTuber, then what do you see? You don't see the small channels, maybe you see them once or twice, but usually by the time a person went viral, then all the old videos go. Okay? Now there is camera, and there is makeup, and there is interview, and there is script, and there is agent, and there is so many things. But what you don't see is that tree growing. And sometimes, life success can creep up on you in the sense that um, I'll just say it, you weren't even noticing that you're showing up. You weren't even noticing that you're doing all this job. There's this sense of dedication. I don't know. I mean, Mars is right now sextiling, applying to sextile Aries, and it's applying to Denebagri. Talk about redistribution of something. So I also want to, if you're listening to this, if you find yourself like, I don't know, I have this life mission, I have that life mission, and it changes. Of course it does. You're growing. And you say, what is going to unite all of these things? It falls into place. You let this be, you be with it, you show up, and it falls into place. That's how it's done. That's how it goes. It's not it's not depicted from the start. Maybe some things are like, oh, I'll be this, I'll be that, but it falls into place. I don't even understand why am I called to talk about this. Very interesting. I began this channel, okay, when I took a break from academia, and it was a lot of applied stuff suddenly. I have to admit that intellectually I have, and spiritually I have met a lot of my dreams, in the sense that, when I was in academia, I was studying like a history of politics. And I was looking at astrology of the enlightenment, of the this, or the outer planets, basically. I didn't know to name it that way. And I was like, it would probably, I didn't know there is a thing such as mundane astrology. So it would probably be so interesting to look at world events and the history of them, the people, through the lens of astrology. I wonder what we will find. It was so naive and so stupid, in the sense that I was ignorant of the wealth of knowledge that exists in this field. It's like, wouldn't it be lovely if there's an entire field called mundane astrology? Okay. And then from there, 3 years, it's not even 3 years, I think it's almost a decade after. It's a decade after. I didn't know how to read a chart. I did synastries, and I started from composites. I didn't know how to read the synastry. I started from composite charts, small products, maybe like $15. And it was useful. It's like people telling me I'm doing a good job. Like, if too many people telling you you're doing a good job. And then there was listening to Ernst Willem. He said, you're not deciding to be a teacher of astrology, that the student come to the teacher and somebody will tell you that you're meant to do this. At the same week, I was given a reading to an astrologer, and she said, please teach me your technique. Mind you, I did not know how to fully read a natal chart, only like the composite, outer the planets, the inner planets, what I developed myself with paying attention to things, and of course learning a lot from others. Okay, when I say develop myself, I mean this little tiny addition that I had, that was like my observation upon what I saw. So usually it's well, there's another, like, there's a whole other story. But the thing is, and at the same time, I was writing the Israeli group, and there's a famous Israeli astrologer coming to my DMs like, where did you learn astrology? And I'm like, with the tail between my legs, but like, on YouTube. And he was like, no, I'm also self-taught. And so you know where to look, and this, and you need to be an astrologer. That's what's up. Okay. So I didn't even know to delineate that Uranus in the 10th house, but it's not, it doesn't mean it could be a scientist, it could be a reactionary, I am this crazy mad hatter and so on. But intellectually, spiritually, it's kind of like a lot of my dreams came true, and I haven't even noticed that. Both to know how to do this and to do this and to do this on world events and to receive a prenup for like big things that are happening. And it's like, yes. And I don't know, it's also the joy of being within all of that. Like real life, fortunately. real life. Real life. So yeah. When I was young, I was thinking about myself as a writer and then a screenwriter. Then I had my, most successes that were way beyond my dreams, and then I was called to do other things. And I kind of felt like, at this stage in my life, I am retired. So I didn't expect myself to be like showing up for something consistently for 3 years in a row. And before that, there were other 2 years or even 3 years where I was doing this channel and I was doing like manifestation. And I started notice some things manifest more quickly, some things take time. And astrology had a better explanation. And it would evolve eventually to astrological magic as well. So, and you can do creativity with astrology. You can do many things. When I was studying politics and governance, I was thinking about politics, and with politics, it's basically the wealth redistribution. Okay, and so the power relation and wealth redistribution, yes, of course, but how do you do this? Okay, so you have to know a little bit about medicine. You have to know a little bit about everything, even if you're not like a professional minister of something. Then you have to know a little bit about something. So and that was interesting to me because I didn't have to give up subject of studies to do this. My biggest issue was like, I don't do niche. Everyone said, find your niche. I don't do niche. So in politics, in the studies of politics, I didn't have to give up subjects of studies to do something related to politics. And I was also doing philosophy of medicine before COVID. So, philosophy of science, philosophy of medicine in the department of politics. And so freedom. So with astrology, like it connects to the everything, to the all there is. So you don't have to give up, your fields of interests, your experiences, or bigger connection. And I got to do this before the times where they require everybody to have a certification. I was doing astrology readings when I was doing a certification in aromatherapy. like this is timing, this is luck, you know. I had the luck to do this when I can access this program, um, where there is a channel where I can broadcast every day. I'm not dependent on editors, and I don't need to be in a cult to have airtime, which something that wasn't, and they're trying to make it and isn't. But there are alternatives, and there and at the time where I could dedicate to this, is basically, you know, recovering from something that the things that I were doing when I was working, I guess they paid me not to work. This is how I see it. And you go to here to give you this, like, you are total verrückt, you cannot work. And I said, well, you give me studies. Yes, you can get studies. That's why I did it. And then and then you go to rehabilitations for the studies, of course. And it's like, what about work? Didn't you just agree that I'm complete and total, absolute useless person in the working force? Did you just like agree that you would rather pay me not to work than have me do it? It feels like a failure. Everybody's so impressed with me, and then there's a revolution happens because I'm there, and they're not impressed with me anymore. And they're like, why did we hire this person? Astrology is like, okay. So this was a decade where you could do this in this way. I see a lot of digital businesses reliant on such platforms, and I'm concerned because you know, right now no money changes hands through this platform, but it's not a business platform. Hope you understand this. Yes, you can make money from this, but you know, I remember, you know, I heard Lada when she began. It was 2000, I think, 8. Yes, when Pluto came to Capricorn, and she would go to places and offer people readings in the physical. Today, I think they would laugh at your face if you try to do something like that, because it's not so acceptable to turn to people. Now with the digital, people expect you. They're like, oh, and where are you, like, you know, digitally? So it's changed times. But I think, you know, we'd be doing business completely differently, and also digital business. I think, in a way, the fact that it's not like still a running business, that I have to rely on this for my viable income is important, because what's coming up for the world is weird, and the completely have to change the way we do business, and the platforms, and the currency, the digital currency, and the alternative currency, and the way we think about business. So everybody will have to adapt, and so I guess that was the difficulty, because I was, you know, after I took a break from university, I was like, okay, I'm going to study this certification, and then I can have something to do, and then it's time to step up and work, right, and then make a living, and then COVID, and then World War, and then the coin changing, and everything is kind of very weird. Okay, it's very difficult, but it's just also a lot of opportunities, and completely like rethinking the everything of it. And throughout this decade, I got to do this, which is wealth of experiences that, when I was still in therapy, I said, I want to do a business because I want to grow. And my mindset is that I'm growing. It's my experience. When you're doing something new, it's like you're planting something, you don't know what's going to be. And I feel that I have been growing a lot. And in more ways than I imagined. Hello, welcome to live chat. Hero Hunter Shorts. Somebody wrote something, but I don't see what. I cannot see what you wrote there. It's just empty spaces. Thank you for the likes. And something I want to tell you, a lot of people, when they're starting to learn a skill, they think, oh, this is going to take me so much time, and will. I'll never have the confidence to do this. I want to tell you that sometimes, it's not sometimes, you reach a state of flow. You practice and you learn. And if you take the time, okay, it's not about hustle. Take the time to absorb the information and rest as well, then you become this. You reach a state of flow. One of the things that I've been doing here is I was opening my mic. That's why I like to do these lives. I open the mic, I'm on air, I'm opening my mouth. There's no script, there's no anything to consider. It might not look the best, it might not sound the best, but one thing there is here is I practice my skill every single day. And so much so that you reach a flow state. And when you are in the flow state, you are acting and you are speaking and you are delivering sometimes more so than you know, and that is becoming natural for you. Whatever you do, this is astrology, you could do anything that you do in this way. It's a language, basically. And when I was teaching English, then I always connected the passion of the person in front of me and their dreams to say, let's do this, but in English. It was fun for me because I don't want to just go through the homework and that stuff. Yeah, sometimes you have to, but also this is a language. It's a way in which you can describe the world, in which you can see the world, and the language, it has content, it has essence, it has experiences, it has it becomes the way you think. Very much like filmmaking, yes. Very much like filmmaking. Again, you show up here, but I don't see what you are writing. Yes, so it's very difficult to comment. You look beautiful, but I don't see what you are writing, so I cannot comment live. Thank you for your engagement. During this particular thing, there's a lot to accept. Accept what happens to you when you channel, and accept the fact that you don't always know what's going on. Maybe you never will. Accept the fact that, I could wake up in the middle of the night, open the charts, open the mic. So all of these videos, okay, I said, I want to record something. I looked at the charts like 9, 9, go. And allow this flow to be. It's like music. It's like when you're doing ad-libs, what you call ad-libs, yes. It's the jazz of the soul. And it comes with the flow state. And it comes, you're seeing this and you're thinking, how can you do this? Open the mic, speak, and of all these technical details. And I am going to be 40 years old this May. Okay. The first page that I wrote was at about age 11, and this is relatively old. So you only see the flow state. There's 2 hours. And I'm not alone here. So there's something I want to talk about, like the impact of our work. And again, my closest example is sugar-free lemonade, because, how should I say it? At the time of writing, it didn't feel like anybody's watching, and you get into a certain state in order to just function. You just speak, and you don't have the idea of the impact of your creation on people. One great example from YouTube I remember is that I was recovering from sexual boundary violation, and I addressed sexuality as well in my videos. The things that I removed is not because I have a problem to talk about this, but because I withdrawn, as they don't necessarily represent what I feel right now, and just like I didn't grasp the issue the way I was, expecting to this. And I talk and I talk and I talk, and then I think 6 months later, I get one comment by a person that tells me that they've been watching my videos over and over again. They went through a personal process with this, and they decided to speak about sexuality themselves, and they are now one of the leading speakers. Nature in overcoming religious shame to do with sexuality. And so The paraphrase on Vince Gilligan, if only one viewer in 100 gets it, fine. So it's kind of like, you don't get feedback, then there's a person whose life was completely changed. Like, oh my God. Who's watching? You never know. And you never know what impact your words have on people. And what the power of your stating your desire, the power of your desire to change things, to do something, to give ideas, to make a contribution. Is if before even make a contribution, it's kind of like, hey, I have this idea. Hey, what about that? Hey, I'm concerned about this. To really communicate, to really talk, and you don't even understand the impact that it has on people. And there's a lot that I have received from doing that. I have Chiron in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury's speech. Chiron is the wounded healer. So being a person of the word, communication has been very interesting in my life. But the ways in which I have received messages and received valuable information and meaningful connection is, I didn't know that this could be possible. So I know this time it's like everybody gets cancelled and they all these protests, and you think, everybody tells you, oh, keep quiet. There's also power for expressing your desire, expressing what you want in the world. I want to be free. I want to be free to create. I want to have meaningful connections. Whether in my personal or intimate life, working life. I'm a people's person, funny as it sounds. I want our health praxis to be both humble and accessible, and that the people who truly do in favor of people will reach the people. I want to tell you that astrology is something that is widely practiced, and your declarations of independence are re-elected. So there's no reason why you shouldn't. There's no reason why you should live in this fantasy world where this is woo-woo and everybody tells you this is not scientific and this is not this. Of course, it's not scientific, it's art. The science is art. But if you think that people just not looked at, it's not practiced by the people who make the decisions over your life. So why shouldn't you study this? So it's very weird to say this at this time. Don't be afraid to speak. And I say this being a person whose words led them to some places. But as a holistic health practitioner, if you don't speak, you will be sick too. Okay? So, not to stress you too much, but this is awfully true. And if you work in the job that's not good for you, you will be sick. All the money would go to the doctors. And if you're in the job that's right for you, you know. We lost some people. um, anyway, so, but I do honestly believe that the more people are in touch with their creativity and the expression and have a place to express this, and have a place is also, you know, I have a house, I have food on their table, yes, being seen and so on. Yes, otherwise they will be creative, but they will write Mein Kampf. So I don't know. No, I won't say that. At the atheist joke circle or the secular joke circle, if you know, you know. I practice possibilism. Possibilism. Yeah. Anyway, then the more people have the ability to be themselves, then the less lethal it is to be, so to speak. And one thing, if we do declarations of independence, sun does not belong in the 8th house. That's what's up. Care for the moon, care for the ruler of the 4th house, sun. Yes. Yeah. But also mundanely, I want to tell you that if your sun sign is your, you know, Cancer suns in, or Cancer placements in United States, Taurus placements in Israel, and if your sun is falling on like the country's 8th house, it's good for there to be not just one world country, because this allows people, you know, just like a relationship, not matchmaking, but it's like, hey, it doesn't work, then you happy and me happy is more important than us being together. It's also true to being in a place, whether it's a workplace, whether it's a country, and so on. And this needs to be allowed. Okay, a person should never have to fear that, you know, that they have no place in the world, or there's no place that wants them, or there's no place they'll be okay in, and so on. And this is why both fundamentalism and one world government is depriving people of this freedom to be. And I think that there are alternatives to that. So, yes, with this very long video, I will end. And I hope that it speaks to the hearts of the right people and connects with the heart of the right people and inspires some good things in you and in the world. Um, and it is safer to be shining. So, thank you for watching.